You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and I am really happy today because both the MLB and the MLBPA have both gotten their heads out of their asses, and there will be baseball this year. Nothing is set in stone yet. There's still some hurdles to clear, but it seems like we're going to get a 60-game season. Yes, I said before that I think canceling the season would be better than a 60-game season, and some of these health and safety protocols are ridiculous. And I don't see how it's going to work for baseball. But you know what? I'm still a baseball fan at heart. It's my favorite sport. The Yankees are my favorite team. I'm really glad that there's going to be baseball this year. Most likely. Basically, what you need to know about these latest developments are that we're probably going to get 60 games. Spring training will start on July 1st, so a little over a week. It's kind of funny. Spring training is starting July 1st, when NBA and NHL free agency can officially open. That's unreal. I understand that the timelines have changed because of the coronavirus, but wow, that is just crazy to me. Opening day is going to be the weekend of July 24th to July 26th. It seems like we're going to get the universal DH this year and maybe beyond. It's something that Rob Manfred wants. I think the players would be amenable to it. I'm fine with the universal DH. It should be one way or the other. Either don't have the DH or have the DH in both leagues. I'm for having the DH in both leagues. I just think that with no other league in the world having the DH, to expect these pitchers in the best baseball league in the world to suddenly hit is really unfair. There's also going to be a realignment in the schedule. So each team is only going to play within its own division and its opposite division. So basically what that means is, I'll take the Yankees for an example. They're going to play the four other teams in the AL East: the Orioles, Red Sox, Rays, and Blue Jays, and the five teams in the NL East: the Braves, Phillies, Mets, Marlins, and Nationals. Also, one thing that's been agreed to, according to Bob Nightingale, and I do not like this at all, but I understand why they're doing it. In extra innings, a runner will start on second base. Also, subbed out players may be allowed to re-enter the game. I'm not saying that's definitive. The second base thing is, the subbed out players re-entering is just being discussed. And so is the possibility of ties. That's also something that's being discussed. That's the only thing here that I have an issue with. Everything else, I'm fine with. I applaud the league and the Players Association for reaching a deal. It got really close to doomsday. We almost got no baseball. And the league can't survive that. The league can survive 60 games. It can't survive a canceled season. The one thing I'll say is, if these changes for extra innings are implemented, let's just limit it to this year. This is the perfect time to try crazy scenarios for extra innings. It's something that has been discussed before, so why wouldn't you try it now when a season already has an asterisk? No matter which way you slice it, the World Series winner this year is going to have a huge asterisk. There's almost a part of me that doesn't want the Yankees to win it this year. This isn't their year to win it, I feel like. I just don't want my team to have that stigma. Let another team have it. I've gone 10 years without seeing my team win the World Series. I can go one more. And hey, 10 years for a Yankee fan, that's a long time. Hey, the Yankees are held to a higher standard than any other team in sports. It's just that simple. I mean, I'm going to have a tough time getting into these games. 60 games is for the casual baseball fan. It's not for the diehard baseball fan. And I understand why Manfred and Clark did this. They know that the diehard baseball fan will come back in 2021. The casual baseball fan probably won't if there's a canceled season. So give the casual baseball fan some baseball and you've got something. Now, the one thing I'll say is, they're going to be going up against the Stanley Cup playoffs and the return of the NBA. That's not going to be easy for Major League Baseball. It's something that they do anyway. If there was no coronavirus, they'd be doing it anyway. But Major League Baseball may be screwed here. Their whole regular season is gonna go up against the NHL and the NBA. There's no better playoffs in sports than the Stanley Cup playoffs. And the NBA is light years ahead of the MLB in terms of popularity. Major League Baseball may have screwed themselves here. I understand there wasn't much that could be done. And I'm not blaming Manfred or Clark for this. Even if we had had smooth negotiations to get this season underway, Major League Baseball still would have been going up against those two sports. So I understand that. But it's a really tough ask for the casual baseball fan. Again, that's who these guys are catering to right now. The casual baseball fan to watch baseball over hockey and basketball. If you're not a hockey fan, or if you're not a basketball fan, great. Fantastic. No issue. If you're a fan of just two of those three sports, Which one are you watching? There have been some talks about the NHL and the NBA permanently changing their schedule so that they start in December. That would push the finals to August, September. So they'd be going up against baseball for basically its whole season. How can baseball survive that? It can't survive it with the NBA. That's done. That's over. They will lose that battle before it starts. The NHL, it can compete with, but once you get to the playoffs, that's really tough. That was part of the reason why I was saying to these leagues, if we're going crazy into September or October, just cancel the season. No champion, let's regroup for next year. Because now you're changing the calendar permanently. I mean, if that's what Gary Bettman and Adam Silver want, fine. This gives them a good excuse to do that, but I'll focus on hockey. How are you going to have hockey regularly in August and September? That ice is going to be slush. I understand that these new arenas that are being built have state-of-the-art cooling systems. But there's only so much those can do. If it's 100 degrees out, how are you going to have ice? I mean, think about it. You're walking into the arena and it's really cold. It's about 50 degrees. And then you walk out of the arena and it's 100 degrees. First off, you're getting sick with that drastic change in temperature. That's number one. Number two, how are those conditions going to work for the ice? How are those conditions going to work for the players? There are going to be injuries left and right. Basketball is fine. Basketball can survive it. The only thing I would say is to run up and down the court for 30 minutes each game in 100-degree heat is crazy. But those arenas are kept cooler. Again, there's no ice. There's not as big a risk of injury. It's still a tough ask, but it's not as bad as hockey. Major League Baseball maybe is screwed, not just for this year, but the years to come. Now, the diehard fans like me are going to be interesting. I don't know what I'm going to do in a month. Am I going to watch the playoffs or am I going to watch the Yankees? The seeding games with the NBA, I have no problem giving up. But once you get to the NBA playoffs, how can you ask a fan to watch regular season baseball over playoff basketball? If you're not a basketball fan, go for it. But if you are a basketball fan, the playoffs beats the regular season. I mean, I'll tell you, when those playoffs are underway, I'm not watching the Yankees as much. Yes, I still go to the games and I'll still flip to Yankee games at commercials to see the score. I still follow the team, but I'm watching more hockey and basketball than I am baseball. The diehard fans automatically coming back, they'll be open to watching baseball. But if there's another sporting event on that they care more about, Major League Baseball is screwed regardless. I don't know what the right answer was. The only thing I can think of is you write off this year as just whatever's going to happen is going to happen. This is going to be a bad year for us. Let's move past it and let's take our losses. But in the years to come, if these schedules are changed permanently, Major League Baseball is done. They may need to change their schedule. They can't go up against the NBA and the Stanley Cup playoffs. In the regular season, it can. In the playoffs, it can't. Once those leagues get to the playoffs, that's it. They're done. If Rob Manfred has a brain in his head, he will call Gary Bettman, Adam Silver, Donald Fehr, and Michelle Roberts and say to them, please, 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 do not change your schedules. Let us have this. Let's keep tradition. I don't know how amenable those other leagues would be to it, but it may be the only chance baseball has. Before I move to the basketball story that I want to talk about, it's nothing huge, but it's still worth talking about. I want to talk about the chance that the Players Association can file a lawsuit against Major League Baseball. So that way there's definitely no season. It can still happen, but I don't think it's going to. I think both sides realize that the handwriting's on the wall. It's now or never. You did your posturing. Good for you. Alright, I hope you feel proud of yourself. I hope your head hit the pillow softly. But now we've gotten to the point where you have to accept this, or else there's no baseball, and you can't come back from that. The casual fans will not come back. They'll come back for a shortened season. They will not come back for a canceled season. Major League Baseball, as much as it kills me to say this, alright, I'm an old soul, I believe in traditional baseball, I understand that that school is dying, if not already dead. Alright, Major League Baseball can't survive on just the diehard fans. It has to attract the casual fans. And then those fans turn into diehard fans, but they still have that casual fan mindset. You know, they don't believe in wins, they don't believe in batting average, they don't believe in any of that stuff. I think a big issue for Major League Baseball is the fact that sabermetrics has permeated the game so much. You know, the casual fan can watch a game and say, wow, that guy's really good. And the advanced stats will tell you, you're wrong. Well, wait a minute, I just saw it with my own eyes. That guy is really good. No, sorry, this computer said he's not. Well, how does that work? I think that's a big issue for Major League Baseball. But going back to my main point, Major League Baseball can't survive on just the diehard fans. How many diehard Major League Baseball fans are there? Not many. Or at least not enough to support the league as a whole. They still need that casual fan. And the only way to get the casual fan is to change the game for the casual fan. Baseball's a tough sport to get into. You're either going to like it or you're not. Now, I love baseball. Don't get me wrong. No better way to spend a summer afternoon than sitting out in the Bronx watching the Yankees, in my opinion. But I'm in the minority there. There are a lot of people that would rather go to the beach, stay in, or do whatever. The only chance that Major League Baseball has is to change the game for the casual fan at the expense of the diehard fans. It's going to be really interesting to see if the diehard fans tolerate these changes for extra innings. That's my issue with this. If you want to just do it for this year and you see how it goes, okay. The universal DH you can keep forever. I'm fine with that. I promise you, I have no problem with that at all. The extra inning stuff, I hate. Again, if you want to try it for this year to get the casual fan back into it, and then in 2021, you say it didn't work, we're going to go back to the way it was, I don't mind that. Major League Baseball has to ride a fine line between not alienating the traditional fan and placating the casual fan. You know what I'm going to do? I've kind of been looking for an excuse to do this. I think this discussion is the best way to do it. Not today. It doesn't work today. But tomorrow, I'm going to outline my changes that I would make to the game if I was MLB commissioner. It probably won't be an exhaustive list, but I have a few ideas that have been rattling around my head for a while. I'll put them out there, and I'll see if you like them. Moving on now to basketball, and I'm not going to talk about the dates being moved back, the insurance plan. You know, great job by the league and the Players Association for getting together and getting all that done. Alright, how come the NHL and the NBA has no problem with their unions, but the MLB does? Rob Manfred was sold to us as a seminal reason why there was so much labor peace in baseball since '94. Well, he did a bad job here, I'll tell you that. Instead, I want to talk about an old player coming back for the restart. Very interesting that this guy who's been around the NBA since 2001 but has been out of a job since the end of the 18-19 season is coming back for this restart. He's putting himself in danger. He loves the game. God bless him. And that's Corey Brewer, who signed with the Kings. And you're going to see a lot of these transactions as we get closer to the resumption of play. I mean, the Wizards are looking for a sharpshooter to replace Davis Bertans, who said he's not going to play. I don't mind that. I don't mind players sitting this out. I really, really don't. If you're really concerned about your safety, I have no problem with that. And Trevor Ariza also isn't going to play. But back to Brewer, this guy is a veteran, been around the league for a long time. I like the fit with him in Sacramento. I think he adds a good veteran presence to a young locker room that's going to struggle to adjust to this. Granted, this is a new experience for everyone, but Brewer is a calming presence to have in the locker room. I like the idea of him playing with De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley. I think that's going to work really, really well. Good move by the Kings. Alright, it's time for the trifecta, and I'll start with the Steelers. Here we go. There were a lot of people that were higher on Chase Claypool than me. He was rising up my board throughout the process. Had a good combine. Had a really good year at Notre Dame. 66 catches for over 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns. The thing is, though, I still had a third-round grade on him. There were better wide receivers available than Chase Claypool. Namely, Denzel Mims and Devin Duvernay. The Steelers reached for Claypool but I'm not going to kill him for it. Claypool has a fire that you can't teach. I mean, this guy is really intense, plays the game the right way, really coachable. He's a work in progress, though. He's not going to be the next Lynn Swan overnight. But I think he can turn into a really good wide receiver. He has a baseline of good separation skills and good ball skills. He has a really good frame, really good speed. I like the Steelers wide receiver core of Smith-Schuster, James Washington, and Claypool. Alex Highsmith was a terrible reach. They didn't really need an edge rusher. I mean, this is a guy who I had like a 7th round grade on. I don't understand what the Steelers saw in this kid to take him in the late 3rd round. Yeah, he dominated at Charlotte, but the key word there is Charlotte. Cameron Clark for the Jets went to Charlotte, but he was taken in the 4th round. There's a big difference there. This guy isn't good in one-on-one battles. He doesn't have a good frame. He's 6'3", 248 pounds. He doesn't have good speed. He ran a 4.7 at the combine. He's a smart player. He's not bad against the run. And if he's ganging up on people, you know, his tackling's okay, but man, that was a really, really big reach. I cannot justify that pick at all. That was a terrible pick. I don't know if I killed it in my NFL draft recap, but I should have. They made up for it a little bit by taking Anthony McFarland. I really liked McFarland. I was higher on him than most. This fit his range to me as a 4th rounder. I liked watching him play at Maryland. He has a really good frame. Another guy who plays with a fire under his ass. Really fast, both on the field and as a tested metric. He ran a 4.4440 at the combine. Say that 10 times fast. He's also deceptively powerful. He's 5'8", 208 pounds, but he does not go down easy. I like the idea of McFarland backing up James Conner. I think he can push Jalen Samuels and Benny Snell for that role. I had a 6th round grade on Kevin Dotson. To take him in the late 4th round isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's also not the best thing in the world. Dotson should have been invited to the combine, but he wasn't. It would have given him a chance to up his grade in my eyes, but he still went in the end of the 4th round, so it didn't hurt him too much. Dotson played well at Louisiana Lafayette. 4-year starter, was an All-American last year. I mean, he was a man among boys. There's no question about that. The thing is, though, when you project those skills to the next level, I just don't see it. I see an average pass blocker, an average run blocker, decently smart. I mean, he's a tough player. I like that. But I see a guy who's maybe going to be a 5 to 10 year starter at best. I like the Antoine Brooks pick. This fit his range perfectly. Brooks is a really, really smart player. In one-on-one battles, there is no better safety in this draft. He is an excellent tackler. He actually reminds me a little bit of Jamal Adams in that sense. I'm not saying he's going to be Jamal Adams, but when you watch him play, he flashes that ability. The thing is, though, he is so blasted dreadful in coverage that how can you rank him any higher than a 6th rounder? He's a strong safety. I had to knock him down my board just because of that. But Terrell Edmonds seems to be topping out as a good, not great player. In the 6th round, if you're really not sold on him, it's okay to take a guy who could replace him. I didn't mind that pick. It didn't fill a huge need, but I didn't mind that pick. Having said that, though, the Carlos Davis pick filled a huge need. I mean, this was a steal. This was a guy who I had a late 6th round grade on. You take him in the 7th round, that's a steal. I understand it's not the Brinks heist, but still, it's a steal. Good job by the Steelers. I'm just trying to give them something to be happy about because I'm not crazy about their draft. Davis has really good size, played really well at Nebraska. His best game was against OSU. He dominated that game. I like his hands. I don't like his arms, though. He has really short arms. Not the most athletic guy in the world. In 3rd and long situations, you're not going to see him on the field. But Davis has the frame necessary to succeed in this league. I really like that pick. That was a solid pick. All in all, I have to ding the Steelers for not having a 1st round pick. They gave it up in the stupid Minkah Fitzpatrick trade. There are some people that actually love that trade for the Steelers, but they still traded their 1st rounder and didn't make the playoffs. How can you like that trade? I understand that Minkah Fitzpatrick's a really good player, but you've got to make the playoffs with him if you're going to give up a 1st rounder. They didn't. They also didn't fill their needs really well. The Steelers, to me, had an underratedly bad draft. Like, there were people killing the Packers draft. They were killing the Eagles draft. They should have been killing the Steelers draft. I'm going to give them a C-. I think that's the best grade I can give him. I almost gave him a D. The only reason I didn't was because Claypool, McFarland, Brooks, and Davis, I think, are going to turn into solid players. Highsmith, I don't think he's going to, and Dodson probably won't. I feel for you, Steelers fans. This has been a tough 12 months. Alright, it's time for this day in sports history. Not a lot happened on this day in sports history. Today was the 2011 NBA draft, but I feel like you already know about it. You don't need me to tell you about it. We all know how great that draft was. Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Kawhi Leonard, Kemba Walker. Doesn't get much better than that. I mean, there's not much I can tell you about that draft that you don't already know. So instead, I'll go back a little further in time. On this day in 2007, Rod Beck passed away. There was a period of time in the mid-90s where Beck was one of the best closers in baseball. He came up with the Giants in 91, and by 92, he was closing games for them. He had 17 saves that year. He led the Giants in saves that year despite not starting off as their closer. Their opening day closer was the former Yankee, Dave Righetti. In 93, Beck really hit his stride. He had 48 saves, made his first All-Star team. The year after that was the strike-shortened season of 94. So his stats aren't that impressive. He finished with only 28 saves, but that was still enough to make an All-Star team. 95 and 96, he struggled, but was still putting up over 30 saves a year. He wasn't dominant, but he wasn't terrible. His best season may have been 97. And the reason I say that is because of something that happened late in that season. On September 17th, the Giants were 2 games behind the Dodgers in the NL West. They played the Dodgers on the 17th and the 18th. So if they win those 2 games, they can tie the Dodgers for the NL West crown. The Giants win on the 17th, 2-1. Kirk Ruder pitched a great game. Barry Bonds hit a 2-run home run in the first inning. That was all the offense the Giants needed. September 18th was a really close game. 5-5. It went into extra innings. Beck wasn't closing games at that time. He went through a rough patch and was succeeded by Roberto Hernandez. In the top of the 10th inning, Beck gave up singles to Mike Piazza, Eric Karros, and Raul Mondesi. So, bases loaded, nobody out. The crowd is killing him. Everyone knows how important this game is. Dusty Baker goes out to the mound and says to Beck, "You're the guy." Beck immediately calmed down. He struck out Todd Zeile, and he got Eddie Murray to ground into a double play. The crowd went nuts. 2 innings later, the Giants won the game. It gave them the momentum they needed to take over the Dodgers in the end to win the NL West. Beck finished that season with 37 saves, and he did make the All-Star team that year. After that season, Beck was a free agent, and he signed with the Cubs, had his best season. He had 51 saves. I mean, how he didn't lead the league in saves is beyond me. I guess that's what happens when Trevor Hoffman is around the same time as you. Hoffman was absolutely insane that year. He had 53 saves. And nearly won the Cy Young Award. That year really was the end of Beck's dominance. The year after that, he was really, really bad for the Cubs. He got traded to the Red Sox. Pitched well there, but he wasn't the closer. In 2002, he had Tommy John surgery, so he missed the whole year. Came back with the Padres in 2003. Pitched well there, had 20 saves. But his career ended in 2004. He had some personal issues. He just wasn't that good, and he faded away. He tragically died in 2007 at the age of 38. Most likely, it was from a drug overdose. There was cocaine and heroin in his bedroom. So, let this be a reminder to you kids. Just say no. Alright, someone offers you drugs, don't do it. It can take your life like that. I'm not saying you'll die right away, but you'll start on that downward spiral that ultimately will lead to death. His life was taken way too soon. Like I said, there was a time when he was one of the best closers in all of baseball. May he rest in peace. Alright, it's time for another Mount Rushmore. I prided myself on going alphabetically for baseball and not missing a team. I went out of order for the Yankees, but they're my favorite team. I hoped to carry that over to hockey. Unfortunately, I missed a team. And I didn't just miss this team once. Oh no. I missed this team 3 times. It was the Colorado Avalanche. I went Chicago Blackhawks, Columbus Blue Jackets, Dallas Stars, and then Detroit Red Wings. I just missed the Avalanche. I don't know how that happened. I'm so sorry. I felt really bad about it when one of my friends alerted me to it. It's like, hey Jacob, I went back. You missed the Colorado Avalanche. And I went back and he was right. So, I'm gonna do it now. I was beating myself up for this. The correct Mount Rushmore is Joe Sakic, Patrick Waugh, Peter Stastny, and Peter Forsberg. Joe Sakic, you don't need me to tell you how great he was. He spent his whole career with the Avalanche franchise. If you don't know, they started out as the Quebec Nordiques. That's where Sakic started, and he followed the Avalanche to Colorado. Sakic was a perennial point-a-game player. I don't know how he only made 3 All-Star teams. He has 1,641 points in his career, and he only made 3 All-Star teams. Something's wrong there. Patrick Waugh came over from the Canadiens in one of the darkest moments in Canadiens history. If only Mario Tremblay had treated him better. The year that Waugh got to the Avalanche, 95-96, the Avalanche went on a crazy run to win the Stanley Cup, and they would do it again in the 2000-2001 season. There is no question in my mind that Patrick Waugh is the second best goalie in NHL history, and it is due in no small part to what he did with the Avalanche. That 2000-2001 Avalanche team is a really underrated team. Go back and watch them play. Really fun to watch. Peter Stastny, when he played, was one of the most underrated players in the game, is still perennially underrated. By far and away, a point-a-game player, 1,239 points in less than 1,000 games, put up a point-a-game season in every season he was a Quebec Nordique. When he was traded to the Devils, that started the demise of the Nordiques franchise. They were a laughingstock. They were putting zero money into the team. When you're going up against the Canadiens in Quebec, it's not going to work. I don't think Quebec can support 2 teams. Everyone there roots for the Canadiens anyway. I understand if you're playing in Quebec City, it's easy to support the hometown team, but you're going up against the Canadiens, the most successful team in hockey history. That's tough. And that segues perfectly into Peter Forsberg. Forsberg was originally a Philadelphia Flyer. He was picked 6th overall by them in 1991. With the first overall pick of that draft, the Nordiques took Eric Lindros, who was viewed as a can't-miss prospect, fantastic player, and he would have been elite if he didn't get hurt constantly. Lindros did not want to be a Nordique. He saw the writing on the wall. He knew that franchise wasn't long for Canada. He just didn't want to be a part of it. He wanted out. He didn't even put the jersey on. And it got really nasty. The Nordiques waited a year to trade him to the Flyers. He was almost traded to the Rangers, and there was actually a hearing to decide who had Lindros' rights. Was it the Flyers or was it the Rangers? It turned out that it was the Flyers. I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version. There's a lot more to that story. There used to be a show on YouTube about it. I don't know if it's still there or not, but they go more in depth on it. The bottom line is, Lindros became a Flyer, Forsberg became a Nordique. He did play in the Nordiques' last season. Then he went to Colorado and dominated. He was the second best skater on both of the Avalanche's Stanley Cup winning teams. Without him, I don't think the Avalanche trade for Patrick Roy. And without Patrick Roy, the Avalanche don't win their 2 Stanley Cups. In fact, I almost put Roy ahead of Sakic, but Sakic spent much more time with the Avalanche franchise than Patrick Roy did. Tomorrow, I'm going to go back in alphabetical order. You already know what team it is. The only team in the NHL to begin with an E. It's the Edmonton Oilers. Pretty easy Mount Rushmore, but I'm still going to do it. I'm also going to go over my changes to Save Baseball. Until tomorrow, I am Jacob Valk saying, shout out to you, Darian Barnes.